Welcome to City Talk, the program in which we try to figure out what these people do all day. And by these people, I mean the people who work for the city of Pittsburgh. This is one of our first shows back in the studio after more than a year, Zooming like many of the rest of you, I'm sure. Say hello to our guest, Phil Savino, who works in the same department I do, the Department of Innovation and Performance. Phil, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So what's your title here?
I'm the Assistant Director of Operations.
That sounds like a pretty impressive thing to me. And that means since we run all the city's computers, we hand out all the city's computers, we fix all the city's computers for all of these departments, you're sort of in charge of making all of that work, or one of those in charge?
One of those is in charge. I oversee the infrastructure, service management, and the devices team. So anything probably from computers to servers to storage, that falls underneath my responsibility.
I don't know if you know the answer to this question. I've never asked anybody else. Are there thousands of computers? Do we have any idea how many are out there?
Roughly over 1,500.
Okay. And are they in pretty good shape generally, or?
We're getting there. Most of them have been rolled out in tech refresh, so we're in the process of over a year now of refreshing that. There's still some departments that we need to get to, but hopefully by the end of this year we'll be in a good spot.
But that was a big deal, right? Because the number of the computers were older and you needed to upgrade Windows and many other operating systems?
Yeah, we had a lot of Windows machines out there, Windows 7 machines, a little bit of mix between the thin clients and some older 10 machines. But this was the city's first tech refresh, so we're kind of happy to have gotten away or along the way with it, and we're looking forward to a successful completion.
That must be why I have Windows 11 on my desktop now.
Windows 11.
I thought that's what it said. I mean,
Windows 10.
Oh, 10. Oh, there is no 11.
There's no 11.
That's how refreshing you are.
It's just Windows now.
It's like on Spinal Tap when they turned it up to 11.
Yeah, hopefully we're moving towards more of a mobile workforce, so we're rolling out a lot more laptops than desktops this time around, and as we move into the future, that's the model that we're moving towards. We're trying to get people laptops if we can.
So how did you develop your technical expertise?
I started from the ground up. I came out of college with an information systems management degree. I started as a computer technician. I was shortly promoted to manager, and then I got into more of the nuts and bolts, hands-on keyboard, system administration, then a network engineer, and then finally I landed in the parking authority as CTO. And
you got your degree at Robert Morris?
Yes.
But initially, as somebody in high school, you were telling me the other day, your focus was on martial arts.
Oh yeah, that's an interesting story. So like when I first came to Pittsburgh, it was to train in the martial arts. My instructor had moved to Pittsburgh for a promotion, and I liked the area. I kind of fell in love with the city at that point. And when time came for graduation, he said, "What are you going to do?" And I said, "I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm going to train in the martial arts." He said, "No, you're not. You're going to college." And I said, "No, I'm not going to college." He said, "Yes, you are." I said, "No, I'm not." So he tricked me into coming to Pittsburgh again a following time to train with his trainers, which I did. And then he said, bring a suit and tie. And I said, okay, why? And he said, well, we're going to go out to dinner with the big wigs and you need to look nice. I said, okay. So I came, and next thing you know, I was dressed in a suit and tie and on my way to several interviews at the universities here, Duquesne, Pitt, and Robert Morris. And one thing led to another, and I was enrolled in college.
So he sort of suckered you into what eventually became your calling.
Yeah, exactly.
But that in a good way. I mean.
In a good way. Yep. He pushed me into it, and I hated it. But then I learned thereafter I was good at it, and then, here I am.
Do you still dabble in the martial arts?
No, I retired a while ago. After 2 knee surgeries and several shoulder surgeries, my body couldn't take it anymore.
Is that why likely he was recommending you find a different calling?
Yeah, no, I think he was likely recommending because he knew that the college was the thing to do, and you needed a higher education to get a good job.
All right, and how long have you worked for the Department of Innovation and Performance?
A little bit over a year now.
And that's been a hectic year. So how did you do all that while COVID was going on?
It was quite interesting. I think it's probably the most difficult transition I've ever done in the workforce. Obviously, coming into a big team like IMP, not being able to meet people face to face. Everybody looks like a square on your screen, learning people's names, the many city acronyms that we have. But it was stressful. I'm glad that everybody's starting to return to work because I get to see the smiling faces of my staff, which is great, and associate personalities with those faces. So, but COVID was an interesting point to be starting a new job for sure. I was prior to that, rolling out work from home devices and technology for the parking authority. So that was kind of an ongoing scramble, and then accepting a position with the city.
Yeah, and when you were with the parking authority, you played an instrumental role in both the parking app and the new meters, which don't require quarters, or relatively new.
Yeah, I was definitely the lead technologist at the time. David was very instrumental in bringing the idea of using a European parking model, which is called pay-by-plate. I put the pieces together, the systems to talk, so to speak. When I was hired back to the Parking Authority as their Chief Technology Officer, essentially, I was given the task to build an IT operations for him. He felt that it was important to have his own technology operations for this stuff to be successful, and he was right. And one of the very first handoffs he gave me was to bring the parking app to life. They were designing it and had it as an idea, and it was in the RFP process as being written, but it wasn't published, and then the project itself hadn't started. So that was kind of like my first welcome back, make it happen.
Yeah, but that's quite an accomplishment.
I guess so.
How do you find managing different than when you were, helping to create an app?
While I was managing there as Chief Technology Officer, I had a staff. I had a service desk operations, and I had an infrastructure operations. But this is definitely larger size, larger scale. So for sure.
Any other hobbies besides formerly in the martial arts?
I like home renovation, DIY. By far is my enjoyable, I guess, pastime. I like to create things at the house. Like I like doing bathroom and kitchen renovations. I've done my bathroom. I've done several bathrooms for friends of mine. I just like construction work, drywall, painting, things like that.
So you're like a really good friend to have.
I guess I can be.
Jack of all trades. I mean, you can.
Master of none.
Well, it seems like you've mastered some of them. Would you recommend a career in government to folks out?
Yeah, absolutely. The thing about technology is that it fits in almost any industry or market. Technology touches everything we do today. But working specifically in government it's watching whatever your craft is help your community. You're essentially getting paid or getting employed to be a part of growing a community and making it a better place to live. So in the sense of technology, whether that's parking or if it's government operations, delivering services, helping police, catch more bad guys, or ambulance to be delivered to or to come to the house quicker. However, technology can facilitate that need. Parking, being able to open up an app and see where parking availability is so you can get to your spot quick and get to work in the morning quicker. All of that is delivered by means of technology. So there's a fulfillment there.
And now that I've met you, is there any way you can upgrade my iPhone? Or is that somebody else?
Probably not.
Well, honest answer.
I can send someone to upgrade your iPhone.
All right, awesome. Phil Savino, thank you so much for joining us on the program today.
No problem.
When we come back, we'll talk to City Controller Michael Lamb. Stay with us. Welcome back to City Talk. Say hello to the controller of the city of Pittsburgh, Michael Lamb. Controller Lamb, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for having me.
So I pick up the paper this morning and discover that you think we ought to annex the town of Wilkinsburg.
Well, that's right. And it's not just, and I think that's the smaller picture of it. I mean, to me, in my whole career, I've talked about municipalities working together in better ways. And whether that's through mutual aid or consolidations of services or joint purchasing. One of the first meetings I took as city controller was with Dr. David Miller, who has since passed away, out at Gispia. And out of that conversation, we created an organization called Connect, which is the Congress of Neighboring Communities. And it's Pittsburgh and all of its neighboring municipalities, of which there are 36. And so for the first time, the city was doing what the suburban communities have been doing all along, is talking to each other, and now we're talking to them. And so we're finding ways, and we've done things like energy purchases, and we dealt with issues like EMS, providing services, and street lighting, all kind of issues that have come up out of that conversation. So I see annexation and those conversations as the next step in any of that.
And you made the point, at least in the article I read, that apparently 300,000 is the magic number. If the population dips below that, we're considered a smaller city. I mean,
That's right. If you
technically
look
we are,
at, our trade organization, so to speak, is the Government Finance Officers Association, and that's the distinguishing number. If you are above 300,000, you're a large municipality. If you're below it, you're a small municipality. And I think that means something, not just in nomenclature, but I think it just means something with respect to funding that's available. There are different pots of money that are available to large municipalities that aren't available to small municipalities. So in the long run, having our population above 300,000 is important, and it's possible and even maybe likely that we're going to dip below that in this census.
And Wilkinsburg would give us another 15,000?
Right, another 15,000 people. And, and not that that's the only reason you do something. With Wilkinsburg in particular, we're already contracting with them for fire service. And that's been a very successful operation. We have saved them money on their fire bureau while reducing response times. So it's been a very positive step. We collect garbage there on a contractual basis. And their children in sixth grade and above come to city schools. So there's a lot of consolidation that's already occurred. Annexation would be a good thing for the city, for the population side of this argument. I think it's a good thing for Wilkinsburg from the financial side, but that's really up for the people of Wilkinsburg to decide. They really need to decide this, and I'm hoping our council lets them do that. Now, I don't know if you saw it today, but they've decided that maybe it would make more sense to do this in the spring primary rather than in the general election. So there's time. There's time to talk about this issue and really educate people about it, and hopefully they'll consider it.
And you think the tax money that we would get in would probably more or less even out with the new services we'd also be providing?
And not just me. I mean, that's true based on the services, the studies we've done of the services we already provide. But even with this, they've had an independent financial firm come in and look at that, and they've produced a couple of reports that I agree with, that they're right in line. They're right in line.
So just like a lot of other cities, COVID was really killing us in terms of revenue. We're really lucky we got that federal aid. Is that saving our bacon?
Absolutely. I mean, you figure last year we lost $50 million. $50 million, that's a big number for a city of our size. And particularly because of what happened with parking. People aren't driving into town anymore, or are they going to special events? And with special events, of course, you lose amusement tax as well. So a big number. Now, interestingly, it really didn't affect our income tax last year. People, while we know people were out of work, we also know that people who were working more hours. And in Pittsburgh, at least, you didn't see a lot of layoffs from some of our biggest employers. PNC wasn't laying anyone off. UPMC, of course, the healthcare industry weren't laying people off. They were actually bringing people in. So we ended up with a year with our income tax collections pretty much where they were in 2019.
So we're lucky to be where we are fiscally right now.
Yeah, I think we are. I mean, I think if you look at any city across the country of our size that has $84 million in their savings account, that's a pretty positive thing, even though we started the year with 33 million, so we lost 50, but we're still in a very strong position, I think an enviable position. And so, and now with the federal money, that's going to enable us to save that money, not have to put that money out to meet expenses this year, and then to also keep us from having to lay anyone off and address the salary increase that everyone that everyone took a freeze this year. So.
Yeah, I was happy about the not having to lay anyone off thing.
Yeah, really.
I think that's the only reason I'm sitting here talking to you right now.
Well, I mean, the fact is, we went through a whole process in this city over the last 15 years, right-sizing our payroll. And it is the right size right now. Whether you look at police, fire, EMS, which make up about 60% of our payroll, or the rest of the government, public works. And we were in a position where we were right, maybe even lean. And to have to bite into that would have really hurt. Would have hurt city services.
So this is one of the first shows we've done in the studio in a year and several months. You guys in your office are going to go on a hybrid system like a lot of people are, like a couple days at home, working at home, a couple days here?
Yeah, that's right. We're doing that right now. We're doing 2 days a week in, and it kind of coincides with the city because our process is at the end, right? So we cut the checks, so to speak, to pay all the bills. So once we get those invoices in from the various departments, then we come in on the following day, so typically a Tuesday and on a Thursday, and then we process those invoices and get those checks out. So right now it's working pretty well. A lot of our staff, though, like auditors, for instance, really don't need to be here. We have found, we started talking about remote work long before COVID, and we were thinking about it and how it would work, but we never actually pulled the trigger. And when this happened, we were very quick to go to a remote work model. And I think for our auditors, we released an audit today. They've done really good work working from home. And so I think once we get back, we're going to have a discussion about what work from home from here on out will look like.
And you had to hire a new deputy during COVID, and she had to meet everybody via Zoom.
Yeah. Rachel Heisler came on right at the beginning of this year. And I felt so bad because, how do you do that? How do you come in to basically run or manage an office and you don't know any of the employees and you don't get to see any of them except for the little box on a computer screen? Yeah. So it was difficult, I think, but she's done great. She's done fantastic, and she's really jumped in. She's really gotten us involved in some issues that she found important and ways to look at things that we hadn't thought of before, and it's been a great addition.
So how did you manage to cope with the COVID since apparently we're at the light at the end of the tunnel stage or close to it?
So we coped with it in the office. We coped with it by just getting our work done and doing what we could do. Personally, I didn't cope with it very well because I think I gained about I don't know how much weight. We're at home, and so I was working in the kitchen, which is the worst place to work because there's food all around all the time. So you're eating more than you do. And the interesting thing I found is that just coming into work every day, you don't realize how much you walk. And so even like I take a walk every day, but when I was home, I wasn't getting the regular steps that I was getting in by coming into the office. I was still doing one, and so the calories didn't add up. I was gaining more than I was losing. So it was I'm trying to get back. So we're getting there.
Any particular COVID food that you fell in love with that you didn't used to splurge with so much?
You know what? I actually, my wife and I, we really like to support the local restaurants. And there's a restaurant in Mount Washington that's been there forever, and I never went there. It's called it's the Sesame Garden on Shiloh Street. It's a Chinese restaurant, and it's really good. And so that's one of the finds that we made. But I really do try to even in the height of COVID, we were going places and then kind of promoting it on Facebook, and everyone's, hey, go to this place. They have great takeout. They do it right. They do that, and trying to help some of our local business. And a lot of them are friends that you've known for years, and trying to get them, making sure that they're getting the business they can get.
All right, and I've been asking almost everybody this. Would you recommend a career in government service to people in general?
I would. I think public service is an amazing career. Now, there are a couple things you have to have, and probably chief and foremost, you have to have a sense of humor in this business. You really do. I mean, if I say this to the guys in my office all the time, if you're not laughing while you're working here, then you shouldn't be working here, because it's not all that financially rewarding, but you're doing meaningful work, and you bang your head against the wall trying to get things done sometimes. But you meet great personalities, and and just in this building, there are some great characters around this building, and so I think if you've got a sense of humor and a willingness to try to help people, it's a great career.
Patience is another thing you ought to have, right?
Patience is a virtue, but I have found in government that impatience is also a virtue. You can't just wait and let things happen. You have to kind of make them happen. And Michael Coyne, who I worked for, a former city council member and then became the Allegheny County Prothonotary, who I worked for years, he was often said that impatience can be a virtue because we can't just wait. We got to go. We got to move. We got to get things done. So while patience is a virtue, in government a lot of times impatience can be a virtue too.
All right, well, I'll end this interview so you can go get something done.
Yeah, that's right. We got things to do.
Thanks, man.
All right,
Controller
thank you.
Michael Lamb,
Yeah,
appreciate
thanks.
it. That's City Talk for this edition. We will see you next time.